From translation, TLB, the Living Bible. This 90th day of the year. Today we are reading passages 1 Samuel 15 to 17. 1 Samuel chapter 15, verses 1 to 35. Samuel also said to Saul, "The Lord sent me to anoint you as king over his people Israel. Now therefore listen to this message from the Lord. This is what the Lord of hosts says. I remember that Amalek attacked Israel when they were coming from Egypt. Now go and completely destroy the entire Amalekite nation, men, women, children, babies, cattle, sheep, goats, camels, and donkeys." So Saul mobilized his troops and called out the men of Judah for war. He mustered them at Telaim, 200,000 foot soldiers and 10,000 men from Judah. Then Saul went to the city of Amalek and set up an ambush in the ravine. He sent a message to the Kenites, "Get out of here, or you will die along with the Amalekites, for you showed kindness to all the people of Israel when they came up from Egypt." So the Kenites left. Saul then attacked the Amalekites from Havilah all the way to Shur, which is east of Egypt. He captured Agag, the Amalekite king, but completely destroyed everyone else. But Saul and his men spared Agag's life, and kept the best of the sheep, goats, cattle, and lambs, and all that was good, to sacrifice to the Lord their God. They were only willing to destroy everything that was worthless and of poor quality. Then the word of the Lord came to Samuel, "I am sorry that I ever made Saul king, for he has not followed my instructions." Samuel was deeply troubled, and he cried out to the Lord all night. Early the next morning Samuel went to find Saul. Someone told him, "Saul has gone to Carmel to set up a monument for himself." Then he went on to Gilgal. When Samuel found him, Saul said, "May the Lord bless you. I have carried out the Lord's commands." But Samuel said, "What then is this bleating of sheep I hear in my ears? What is this lowing of cattle I hear?" Saul replied, "The soldiers brought them from the Amalekites. They spared the best of the sheep and cattle to sacrifice to the Lord your God, but we totally destroyed everything else." Samuel said, "Stop, let me tell you what the Lord said to me last night." "Tell me," Saul replied. Samuel said, "Though you were once small in your own eyes, did you not become head of the tribes of Israel? The Lord anointed you king over Israel. And he sent you on a mission, saying, 'Go completely destroy the sinners, the Amalekites, and fight against them until they are destroyed.' Why then did you not obey the Lord? Why did you rush for the plunder and do what was evil in the Lord's sight?" "But I did obey the Lord," Saul said. "I went on the mission the Lord gave me. I brought back Agag, king of Amalek. I completely destroyed the Amalekites. But the soldiers took the best of the plunder to sacrifice to the Lord your God at Gilgal." But Samuel replied, "What is more pleasing to the Lord, your burnt offerings and sacrifices, or your obedience to his voice? Obedience is better than sacrifice. Listening to him is better than the fat of rams. Rebellion is as bad as the sin of witchcraft, and stubbornness is as bad as worshipping idols. So because you have rejected the command of the Lord, he has rejected you as king." Then Saul admitted to Samuel, "I have sinned. I disobeyed your instructions and the Lord's command, for I was afraid of the people and did what they demanded. But now, please forgive my sin and come back with me so that I may worship the Lord." But Samuel said to Saul, "I will not go back with you. For you have rejected the Lord's command, and he has rejected you as king over Israel." As Samuel turned to go, Saul tried to hold him back and tore the robe Samuel was wearing. Samuel said to him, "The Lord has torn the kingdom of Israel from you today, and has given it to someone else who is better than you. He who is the glory of Israel does not lie or change his mind. For he is not a man that he should change his mind." Saul replied, "I have sinned, but please honor me before the elders of my people and before Israel. Come back with me, and I will worship the Lord your God." So Samuel went back with Saul, and Saul worshipped the Lord. Then Samuel said, "Bring me King Agag." Agag came to him confidently, thinking, "Surely the bitterness of death is past." But Samuel said, "As your sword has made women childless, so will your mother be childless among women." And Samuel put Agag to death before the Lord at Gilgal. Then Samuel went home to Ramah, and Saul went up to his house at Gibeah. Until the day he died, Samuel never went to see Saul again, but he mourned for him. And the Lord was sorry he had made Saul king over Israel. 1 Samuel chapter 16, verses 1 to 23. The Lord said to Samuel, "How long would you mourn for Saul, when I have rejected him as king over Israel? Fill your horn with oil and be on your way. I am sending you to Jesse of Bethlehem. I have chosen one of his sons to be king." But Samuel asked, "How can I go? If Saul hears about it, he will kill me." The Lord answered, "Take a heifer with you and say, 'I have come to sacrifice to the Lord.' Invite Jesse to the sacrifice, and I will show you which of his sons to anoint." So Samuel did as the Lord commanded. When he arrived at Bethlehem, the elders of the town trembled when they met him. "What's wrong with you?" they asked. "Have you come in peace?" "Yes, came in peace," Samuel replied. "I have come to sacrifice to the Lord." "Consecrate yourselves and come with me to the sacrifice." Then he consecrated Jesse and his sons and invited them to the sacrifice. But as Jesse and his sons were consecrating themselves, the Lord said to Samuel, "Do not consider his appearance or his height, for I have rejected him." The Lord does not look at the things people look at. People look at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. Then Jesse called for his oldest son Abinadab and presented him to Samuel, but Samuel said, "The Lord has not chosen this one." Then Jesse called for his next son Shammah, but Samuel said, "The Lord has not chosen this one either." So Jesse presented all 7 of his sons to Samuel. But Samuel said to him, "The Lord has not chosen any of these." Then Samuel asked Jesse, "Are these all the sons you have?" "There is still the youngest," Jesse replied, "but he is tending the sheep." Samuel said, "Send for him. We will not sit down to eat until he arrives." So Jesse sent for him. He was a ruddy boy with beautiful eyes and a handsome appearance. Then the Lord said, "Rise and anoint him. He is the one." So Samuel took the horn of oil and anointed him in the presence of his brothers. And from that day on the Spirit of the Lord came upon David in power. Samuel then went back to Ramah. Now the Spirit of the Lord had departed from Saul, and an evil spirit from the Lord tormented him. Saul's servant said to him, "See, an evil spirit from God is tormenting you. Let our Lord command his servants here to search for someone who can play the harp well. When the evil spirit from God comes upon you, he will play, and you will feel better." So Saul said to his attendants, "Find someone who can play well and bring him to me." One of the servants answered, "I have seen a son of Jesse of Bethlehem who knows how to play the harp. He is a brave man and a warrior. He speaks well and is handsome, and the Lord is with him." So Saul sent messengers to Jesse and said, "Send me your son David, who is with the sheep." Jesse took a donkey loaded with bread, a skin of wine and a young goat, and sent them with his son David to Saul. David came to Saul and entered his service. Saul loved him greatly, and David became one of his armor-bearers. Then Saul sent word to Jesse, saying, "Let David remain in my service, for I am pleased with him." Whenever the Spirit from God came upon Saul, David would take his harp and play. Then Saul would feel better and would be well, and the evil spirit would leave him. 1 Samuel chapter 17, verses 1 to 58. Now the Philistines gathered their forces for war, and assembled at Soko in Judah. They camped at Ephs-Dammim, between Soko and Azekah. Saul and the Israelites assembled and camped in the valley of Elah. They drew up their battle line to meet the Philistines. The Philistines occupied one hill and the Israelites another, with the valley between them. A champion named Goliath, who was from Gath, came out of the Philistine camp. He was 9 feet 9 inches tall. He had a bronze helmet on his head, and wore a coat of scale armor of bronze weighing 5,000 shekels. On his legs he wore bronze greaves, and a bronze javelin was slung on his back. His spear shaft was like a weaver's rod, and its iron point weighed 600 shekels. His shield-bearer went ahead of him. Goliath stood and shouted to the ranks of Israel, "Why do you come out and line up for battle? Am I not a Philistine, and are you not the servants of Saul? Choose a man and have him come down to me. If he is able to fight and kill me, we will become your subjects. But if I overcome him and kill him, you will become our subjects and serve us." Then the Philistine said, "This day I defy the ranks of Israel. Give me a man and let us fight each other." On hearing the Philistines' words, Saul and all the Israelites were dismayed and terrified. Now David was the son of an Ephrathite named Jesse, who was from Bethlehem in Judah. Jesse had 8 sons, and in Saul's time he was old and well advanced in years. The 3 oldest sons of Jesse had followed Saul to the war. The firstborn Eliab, the second Abinadab, and the third Shammah. 14 David was the youngest. The 3 oldest followed Saul, but David went back and forth from Saul to tend his father's sheep at Bethlehem. For 40 days the Philistine came forward every morning and evening, and took his stand. Now Jesse said to his son David, "Take this ephah of roasted grain, and these 10 loaves of bread for your brothers, and hurry to their camp. Carry these 10 cheeses to the commander of their unit. See how your brothers are, and bring back some assurance from them. They are with Saul and the Israelites in the valley of Elah." Early in the morning David left the flock with a shepherd, loaded up and set out, as Jesse had directed. He reached the camp as the army was going out to its battle positions, shouting the war cry. Israel and the Philistines were deployed in battle formation, army against army. David left his things with the supply officer and ran to the battle lines and greeted his brothers. As he was talking with them, Goliath, the Philistine champion from Gath, stepped forward from his lines and spoke the same words as before. And David heard him. Now David had been talking with his brothers, and as he was talking with them, the champion, the Philistine of Gath, Goliath by name, stepped forward from his lines and spoke the same words as before. And David heard him. David asked the men standing near him, "What will be done for the man who kills this Philistine and removes this disgrace from Israel? Who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he should defy the armies of the living God?" As David was speaking with the men, Goliath came forward from his lines and spoke the same words as before. And David heard him. When Saul and all Israel heard the Philistines' words, they were dismayed and terrified. David asked the men standing near him, "What will be done for the man who kills this Philistine and removes this disgrace from Israel? Who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he should defy the armies of the living God?" The soldiers told him, "That is what will be done for the man who kills him." When Eliab, David's oldest brother, heard him speaking with the men, he burned with anger at him and asked, "Why have you come down here? And with whom did you leave those few sheep in the wilderness? I know how conceited you are and how wicked your heart is. You came down only to watch the battle." David replied, "What have I done now? Is it not right to ask questions here?" Then David moved away from him toward another man and asked the same question, and the men gave him the same answer. What David had said was overheard and reported to Saul, and Saul sent for him. David said to Saul, "Let no one lose heart on account of this Philistine. Your servant will go and fight him." Saul replied, "You are not able to go out against this Philistine and fight him. You are only a boy, and he has been a fighting man from his youth." But David said to Saul, "Your servant has been keeping his father's sheep. When a lion or a bear came and carried off a sheep from the flock, I went after it, struck it, and rescued the sheep from its mouth. When it turned on me, I seized it by its hair, struck it, and killed it. Your servant has killed both the lion and the bear. This uncircumcised Philistine will be like one of them, because he has defied the armies of the living God. The Lord, who delivered me from the paw of the lion and the paw of the bear, will deliver me from the hand of this Philistine." Saul said to David, "Go, and the Lord be with you." Then Saul dressed David in his own tunic. He put a coat of armor on him and a bronze helmet on his head. David fastened his sword over the tunic and tried walking around, because he was not used to them. "I cannot go in these," he said to Saul, "because I am not used to them." So he took them off. Then he took his staff in his hand, chose 5 smooth stones from the stream, put them in the pouch of his shepherd's bag, and with his sling in his hand, approached the Philistine. Meanwhile, the Philistine, with his shield-bearer in front of him, came closer to David. He looked David over and saw that he was only a boy, ruddy and handsome, and he despised him. He said to David, "Am I a dog that you come to me with sticks?" And the Philistine cursed David by his gods. "Come here," he said, "and I'll give your flesh to the birds and the wild animals." David said to the Philistine, "You come against me with sword and spear and javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied. This day the Lord will hand you over to me, and I'll strike you down and cut off your head. Today I will give the carcasses of the Philistine army to the birds and the wild animals, and the whole world will know that there is a God in Israel. All those gathered here will know that it is not by sword or spear that the Lord saves, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give you into our hands." As the Philistine moved closer to attack him, David ran quickly toward the battle line to meet him. Reaching into his bag and taking out a stone, he slung it and struck the Philistine on the forehead. The stone sank into his forehead, and he fell face down on the ground. So David triumphed over the Philistine with a sling and a stone. Without a sword in his hand, he struck down the Philistine and killed him. David ran and stood over him. He took the Philistine's sword and drew it from the scabbard. After killing him, he cut off his head with the sword. When the Philistines saw that their hero was dead, they turned and fled. Then the men of Israel and Judah surged forward with a shout and pursued the Philistines to the entrance of Gath and to the gates of Ekron. Their dead were strewn along the Shaaraim road all the way to Gath and Ekron. When the Israelites returned from chasing the Philistines, they plundered their camp. David took the Philistine's head and brought it to Jerusalem, but he kept the Philistine's armor in his own tent. As Saul watched David going out to meet the Philistine, he said to Abner, commander of the army, "Abner, whose son is that young man?" Abner replied, "As surely as you live, O king, I don't know." The king said, "Find out whose son the young fugitive is." As soon as David returned from killing the Philistine, Abner took him and brought him before Saul, with David still holding the Philistine's head in his hand. "Whose son are you, young man?" asked the king. David answered, "I am the son of your servant Jesse of Bethlehem,